Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I was thinking of doing some questions and answers with you to wrap up 2024. And I pulled these off the internet. I was going to use them last year on New Year's Eve. And you know what? I'm really having a tough time answering these thus far. Like best conversation you had this year. Favorite holiday memory of the year. Yeah, so let's put those two aside. And you can jot these questions down and try them with your friends tonight. I mean, it was a good year. Let's see. Day this past year you'd live over and over. I'm thinking that was my 51st birthday. We went out to lunch at a beautiful restaurant, and they, pulled out all the stops, like the rose was on the table, the champagne, a card. It was a beautiful, beautiful day, beautiful meal with the best person ever. So I think that's a day this past year I would live over and over for sure. My 51st birthday lunch. All right, so that was easy to answer. Best moment of the year. Best moment would probably be seeing the Eiffel Tower. We went to Paris in July, and that's a whole story in itself. Definitely need to have a story time about that. But best moment of the year was probably seeing the Eiffel Tower. It was kind of like on my vision board, bucket list, things to do. That was probably the best moment of the year. Biggest lesson you learned this year? Well, this kind of goes along with the story time for my trip to Paris. I would have to say, if you're going to travel with family, make sure you understand up front what each other's expectations are for that trip. Because you'd be surprised how quickly that can just blow up. So that's probably the biggest lesson learned this year, is just try and know what someone's expectations are and make sure they know what your expectations are, especially when you're planning a trip, an international trip, and you're spending so much money on it. Just make sure you have the best time. And I think that's true in everything in life, though, is to try and communication, right? Just communicate and understand what each other's expectations are, because it'll save you from tears, I guess, or from just struggling with not having the same expectations when you're together in a situation, if that makes sense. Okay, most overrated celebrity story this year. I don't really keep up with that kind of stuff. Yeah. I don't think I have anything for that. See, some of these questions are tough. We'll put that one aside. Most memorable trip of the year? Well, of course, I would have to say Paris, right? But I also went to Maine to visit my daughter, and it was just so relaxing. It was like you stepped into just a whole different life, right? We stayed at a hotel on the waterfront, and everything was in walking distance. And in the evening, you could just go out for a walk and go to the little shops. There's an ice cream place, pizza place. We went out on a boat ride and caught lobsters, and then had those same lobsters. Well, not the exact same, but it was just like a different routine, right? For 4 days, 4 nights, 5 days, just an entirely different routine in a different state on the water during the summer. That was probably my most memorable trip of the year. I mean, I loved going to Paris. It was, like I said, definitely a bucket list. but it was also kind of stressful. So Maine was definitely extremely relaxing. Paris was, maybe I jammed too much in. We definitely need to talk about Paris. Most embarrassing moment of the year. Most embarrassing moment. That's a good one. Um, Probably like a couple weeks ago. So I was talking about the Grinch and how we were showing the Grinch at my place of business where I work. We had a family movie night, and so on the table when you walked into our office, our company, on that table there was a fishbowl full of the raffle tickets that we were keeping to call out the numbers. And there's also like a little sign and like a plexiglass kind of um, holder. So, of course, I was going to get raffle tickets for someone who said they lost theirs. So, I was going to get new ones. I knocked in, when I was pulling the raffle tickets off the roll, I knocked into that picture that was in the plexiglass holder, knocked into that, and that somehow just set up like a domino effect. The fishbowl full of raffle tickets falls off the table, the pitcher falls off the table, all the raffle tickets go in the floor. I was so exhausted from setting everything up that day, and here I am picking up raffle tickets off the floor, and the lady that was greeting people at the door, all she could say was, Jeanette, that's my first name. That was probably one of the most embarrassing moments. And also that just a situation where you're so tired and frustrated, just that you've done this and you don't even know how you knocked everything over, but that's probably it. Just want to like crawl under the table instead of picking the raffle tickets up off of the floor. All right, best piece of advice you got this year. I don't know. I give a lot of advice. Um, oh, that's a tough one too. I'm putting that one up there. So look, we've got most overrated celebrity story. That's, yeah. Best conversation you had this year, best piece of advice, and favorite holiday memory. Those I'm stumped on. Best thing you did for someone else this year. Probably. Well, I've done a lot for my dad this year. So my dad moved. My mother passed away last year. My dad sold their house and moved closer to me. So I definitely have spent a ton of time with my father, just getting through that process, getting him moved in, handling his finances. Um, so that's probably the best thing that I've done for someone this year, or the most meaningful thing, right? Is just being there. Yeah, I know you kind of have to step up as a child, but being there and just kind of going above and beyond, or it feels like it. I don't know. Maybe it's just the daughter's role. Is it does it always fall on the daughter to kind of take care of the parent um, towards as they age. But that's probably the most meaningful thing that I've done for someone this year. It's just kind of being there and, again, scheduling doctor's appointments, handling paperwork, finding an apartment, all the things, even helping him move. We had like, we emptied out that house and got out of there right after closing so quickly. I can't believe sometimes that we pulled it off. We took multiple loads to Goodwill, multiple loads to the dump, but we did it. And so I think just the time that I've given my dad this year is probably the best thing that I've done for someone. Newsworthy event with most impact. Wow, I know there's a lot recently. Maybe the election, but that's a whole nother can of worms. Let's see. Best movie of the year, hands down, the only movie I've seen in theaters this year, Wicked, for sure. Definitely the best movie of the year, in my opinion. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. I think does it come on available for rent or buy today, I think. Definitely a good movie. Better than, I'm really not into musicals, but this movie was so good, and it just, I think the music in it allowed it to just move quicker, also allowed it to kind of share so many emotions. So good. Favorite song of the year. I kind of think I like, and it's probably not, like, it probably wasn't released this year, but is it Teddy Swims, Lose Control? I like his voice for sure. Most memorable moment in pop culture. Jeez. I don't know. What would I don't know. See, I got another one. I'll just put that one up there. And last question. Hopefully this is a good one. Hardest you laughed this year? I don't know if it was this year or the end of last year. But I was binge watching The Office, and I came across, because I never really watched it when it was on the air. I came across the episode, the CPR episode, and I laughed so hard, and it felt so good. So definitely, if you haven't watched that episode, or if you have, just go back and rewatch it. But the CPR, the fire alarm, where he tries to do a fire drill and he locks everybody in there, and then the guy almost has a heart attack, so then they do a CPR class. Probably the hardest I've laughed. I just can't remember if that was the end of last year or the beginning of this year, but definitely the hardest I've laughed this year. And that's all of them. So try this with your friends tonight on New Year's Eve, and hopefully you have some better answers. Favorite holiday memory? I don't know. It seemed like every holiday we just, make sure there's enough food and gather with family. I do love July 4th, just being able to go to the fireworks with my daughters. That's kind of like our ritual. We'll go down by the golf course every year, and that's always fun, especially when the weather is not too humid and nasty. Yeah, probably my favorite holiday memory of the year. And best conversation you had this year? I don't know. It seems like there's so many. And best advice? I don't know. I'll think about those. Thanks for a great 2024. I hope you enjoy my channel, and see you in the new year.